The member for Gippsland.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker, and it's a pleasure to join the debate, and I acknowledge the very common sense and practical contribution made by the member for Oxley. And the motion notes that building community infrastructure or improving community amenity has the potential to generate local jobs and increase the skills and social capital. Also, investment in cycling is regarded as a cost-effective way to increase mobility and physical activity, and also boost regional tourism. And of course, the motion goes on to note that it supports the awareness programs or initiatives to encourage organisations and individuals to promote cycling as a way of life, of getting fitter, having fun. Deputy Speaker, I'm comfortable with the broad range of that and the general thrust of the motion because it highlights some opportunities that I believe in terms of regional development that we haven't fully explored as a nation, particularly to improve the health of our communities and to provide economic and tourism opportunities in regional areas. All the reports we see on almost a daily basis point to a nation which is getting fatter, a nation where the health impacts of long-term disease related to inactivity are a major concern for us and costing our nation a fortune, yet we have piles of strategies that are lining up saying we should be investing more in infrastructure to support healthier lifestyles, and I think what is the most important part of the motion for us today is that we actually need to see action coming out of state, federal governments and local governments. I've spoken previously about the Gippsland Rail Trail and emphasised my support for the plan to rebuild the Latrobe River Timber Trestle Rail Bridge, which I think is a real opportunity for the federal government to create 5 jobs in the immediate construction phase, but also to support ongoing employment in the tourism industry and the smaller regional centres associated with the rail trail. I think today the motion before us, Deputy Speaker, highlights a very important point that we need to provide opportunities for people to exercise safely, and it comes back to the saying that if you build it, they will come. If the facilities are there for people to exercise safely, I'm confident they'll use them. It brings me to the Latrobe City Cycle Plan and the situation in the Latrobe Valley. I note the presence of the member for McMillan, who's obviously has a very good understanding of the Latrobe Valley region and has a better appreciation probably than most in terms of what could be done in the Latrobe Valley with improved cycle links. But there's a need to develop better access to link the Latrobe Valley communities, which are only 10 to 15 kilometres apart and ideally situated to capitalise on commuter traffic, which gets more vehicles off the road, reduce fuel costs, and also in terms of providing what it would be a low-cost sporting opportunity for people from a low socio-economic background, which we experience in a lot of the Latrobe Valley region. So towns such as Moe, Morwell, Traralgon, Churchill and out into the smaller regional centres would benefit enormously from improved cycle networks and infrastructure and a cycle-friendly environment. The Latrobe City Council has made moves in that regard, and I note there was funding announced only a couple of weeks ago from the Minister for Infrastructure of $140,000 for the Latrobe City Council's bicycle plan to construct some shared pathways in the region. But unfortunately, $140,000 doesn't go anywhere near enough to what's required in the long term. Without wishing to sound churlish, there needs to be a multi-million-dollar investment in new cycling facilities to promote healthier lifestyles in the region, to improve safety and to improve the livability of the region by connecting these large and smaller communities. It's hard to think of a regional centre anywhere in Australia more ideally suited to a major investment in cycling infrastructure. So I commend the member for Oxley for putting the motion before the House tonight. One area that concerns me greatly, and the member did touch on it, is the need to provide a safe cycling environment. We have a situation where bikes and cyclists who are very exposed, only with some limited protection, interacting too closely with roads that with vehicles on roads which weren't often constructed in a way to accommodate bicycles on the shoulders. I think if we get ourselves into a situation where we're actually providing improved infrastructure, particularly for children riding to schools, you'll find that parents are more comfortable with allowing their children to ride to school if there's a dedicated cycle path and they can do so safely. So there's issues there at a local planning level which need to be accommodated, and also in terms of the more significant funding costs which will require some federal and state support. I referred briefly to the Latrobe City 2017 bicycle plan, and I congratulate the Latrobe City for having the vision to work towards encouraging greater participation in all recreational pursuits, but particularly cycling, and to promote active living and participation in community life. It's got a plan for making sure that the road networks and the bike paths networks are integrated in with the footpaths and the public transport options, which will provide real opportunities for the people of Gippsland and Latrobe Valley to exercise, as I said, in a much safer manner. And if we're going to wait for the state government, I'm afraid we'll be waiting a very long time. The Brumby State Government in Victoria has failed miserably in this regard. It recently released its $115 million Victorian cycling strategy, which could have been renamed the Melbourne Cycling Strategy. Thank you, Deputy Speaker.